One of my favorite quotes by Oswald Chambers is, "It's not so much that prayer changes things, but prayer changes me, and then I change things." You see, prayer takes us into the very presence of God. Real prayer, genuine prayer, is entering into the presence of God, a God who is holy and spotless and pure, a God who is full of wrath and justice, a God who is full of love and mercy. To enter into His presence is almost incomprehensible for a sinner like us. But we have been invited into His presence through the means of prayer. Prayer touches the heart and mind and life of God Himself. Jesus taught us much about prayer. Matter of fact, when Jesus was praying in John chapter 11, the disciples heard Him praying and they were motivated to ask Him, "Lord, teach us to pray." Now, we can talk about prayer, we can study about prayer, we can learn about prayer, and we can tell all the things we know about prayer in the Bible. But my friend, the main thing we do is pray. Pray. I want to encourage you today to really take time to spend time in the presence of a holy God through prayer. Jesus was asked by His disciples, "Teach us to pray," as John taught his disciples to pray. I'm convinced that prayer is not so much taught as it is caught. We get into the presence of someone who is praying, and as they enter into the presence of God and we sense that presence, our heart delights and desires to have that same communion with God. I want to encourage you today to study about prayer, to read about prayer, to study the prayers of Jesus in the Bible, but more than that, I want you to pray. Now, one of my dear friends, Dr. Elmer Towns, who was a great mentor of mine, who I had the privilege of having as a Bible professor and college professor in my first year at Liberty University back in 1971. And over these 40, goodness, can you believe it, 9 years, I've had the privilege of being mentored and being befriended by this great man. He's written dozens of books on prayer. And can you believe this, the very day that I started these devotions on prayer, I received a package in the mail, and it was a brand new release of a book by Dr. Towns, Praying with Jesus. Praying with Jesus. And he goes through the New Testament and prays with Jesus. I would love for you to be able to purchase this book and be a part of this. But I don't even think it's released yet, but it will be soon. So Praying with Jesus, 50 daily devotions, and then several chapters that discuss what it means to pray with Jesus. He has a quote in there that it's not so much that Jesus prayed, but Jesus Himself was prayer. Jesus Himself was prayer, ever living in the presence of the Father. So I want to encourage you, be looking for this book by Dr. Elmer Towns, Praying with Jesus. Over the years, what's encouraged me to pray and prompted me to pray and taught me to pray is to get around praying people like Dr. Towns and read his thoughts in his books like Andrew Murray and Watchman Nee and Oswald Chambers as they talk about prayer. Oh, I've been so encouraged to pray because of that. I want to encourage you, spend time in prayer. As you do, your heart will desire to pray more. You'll search the scriptures even in a deeper way. It's not so much that you want to learn more and study more about God. You want to know God Himself. Well, it's prayer that helps you to enter into His presence. It's actually in prayer that you hear the voice of God. Sometimes I have said over the years that if reading the Bible is listening to God talking to us, and pray is me talking to God. But honestly, prayer is a two-way street. God is talking to you as you're talking to Him. It's in prayer that God often puts the thoughts in my mind about a message, about a phone call, about something I should do. It's in prayer that God begins to give me the wisdom I need. He says, if you lack wisdom, ask of God, who gives to all men liberally, in James chapter 1. Verse 5. So I encourage you, learn to pray, study prayer, but more importantly, pray. This Sunday we'll be talking about the prayers of Jesus in the book of Luke, and that was already on my schedule before I got this book by Dr. Towns. So I want to encourage you today, spend some time with the Lord in prayer this weekend and begin to make it a daily time with God in your life. God bless and have a wonderful day.